Today's reaction video is on another TV show. So this time it's on The Magicians, which aired from 2015 to 2020, and it's become like one of my favorite shows, like top 10. I'm not sure where exactly in the top 10 list, but it's up there somewhere. So the plot is Quentin Coldwater enrolls at Brakebills University to be trained as a magician and meets fellow students Alice, Penny, Katie, Margot, and Elliot. Quentin discovers that the magical world from his favorite childhood fantasy series, FILLORY and Further, is real and poses a danger to humanity. Meanwhile, the life of his childhood friend Julia is derailed when she is denied entry, and she searches for magic elsewhere outside of the school. So that's just sort of the little plot. So we're gonna react to it, just like we always do. Like we've done this so many times. So we've got quite a long list of reactions we've done, and more to come. So stay tuned, and we're just gonna crack on with the reaction. So I guess the first question is like, why did we start watching this show, The Magicians? Like, what attracted us to it? So for me, it was I was watching The Librarians. I had finished it, and I had Prime for like a couple of more months and stuff because there's like this Amazon student Prime thing. But anyway, and so The Magicians was recommended to me, and I was like, okay, this sort of seems like something I'd watch. So I watched the first episode, and I was like, that's the second one, and it's getting better and better and better. So you have to give it a bit of time, just like any show. But yeah, that is what attracted me to it. Well, no, that's not what attracted me to it. That's what made me start watching it. But yeah, what attracted me to it is that it was really different. It's really unique, and yeah, it's just the range of characters and the story. Like it's based on a book, and I mean like the actual show is based on a book, but I mean like the actual plot of it is based on a book, which is weird. But yeah, it's just very interesting. But yeah, how about you, Grace?
No, I agree. What drew me into this is that, well, first of all, you kind of persuaded me to watch it again. But again, when I first saw the trailer, it was yeah, it was very different compared to other shows I've seen, like because every show is kind of unique in its own way. But this is it's kind of like Percy Jackson. It's like something so magical, and it's based in the modern world, and that was quite intriguing. And it's something new, and I like just the magic of it. Like it has its own kind of like little spark in the show that kind of it just again, like you say, it's what makes it unique. And the characters, like each are very different, but they're very interact really well with each other. And yeah, it's yeah, the story is really good because there was lots of plot twists and turns in the show that got me on the edge of my seat literally. And the magic, some creatures in it are like fantastically well done, like the CGI and like the style of it. And it has its own kind of like little speciality with the show, and I think that's what I'm really attracted to, is how it's got its own kind of like very unique kind of way. And yeah.
So talking about characters, I guess we'll move on to who's our favorite character, which for me is quite hard because there's just so many characters and I love them for different things. Like, yeah. And I guess like normally people sort of like the main character, Quentin, and I do like him, don't get me wrong, but I sort of liked everybody. Like everybody had like a different sort of personality. They brought something different to the group. Like the relationships between characters like Quentin and Alice, and then Katie and Penny, and then like Julia and Penny. Like it's a bit weird, but yeah, the humor, the family aspect, like so yeah, I don't know who my favorite character is. I haven't discovered the answer to it yet, but it's definitely someone from the show.
And same here. I can't pick a character because I think they all show like a very like likable towards them. Like I can see a lot of goodness in them, and I can also see a lot of like flaw. But it's just hard to pick who's your favorite because they each kind of like they have their own like equal time, like time in the show, and you just see how great that character is. Like, but if I have to pick like top 3 in a way, I have to say either like Alice, Elliot, and Margot, because, or I mean Julia is alright. I did like Julia. I like
Wait, hold on.
Julia.
Is Alice at the top or at the
No,
bottom?
no, no, no. Oh, I can't
Is it?
say she's at the top. I think
Oh, is it just? It's
that's what I
just the
mean. That's what I mean. They're not at the top. There's no first
top
place.
ranking.
It's just there's like a little circle I like to put in, uh, but I mean, you can't see these characters without the other characters with the like. You can't see Elliot alone because he's better like with like he's just really great with like Margot. They're a great duet really,
Yeah.
and Alice and Quentin. I mean, they're great. I mean, I thought they were good, and they kind of struggled together, which really bugged me. Uh, but they really are kind of relatable in some ways, which I have to say I can't really pick one at the moment. But
I mean, I think you
they're
did better
quite
than me. So you picked 3. So well, 3, 4. So I guess
yeah.
that's better than me.
Mm.
Yeah. How about least favorite character? Like, who would that be for you?
Okay. At the beginning, I have to say Julia, just for the beginning, like when she kind of turned to like the dark side, and then what happened to her early on, it was awful. So I kind of had to let her off some heat because yeah. But
Fair
she
enough.
became quite strong woman, and same like Alice as well. She's got like kind of like she's quite like nerdy looking, but she's also quite sassy. She's also confident. Basically, the women in the show are my favorite.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, apart from the villains, I don't know. It's sort of my least favorite characters. Sort of links to like my least favorite moment in the whole show.
Yeah.
So like season
Yeah.
5, episode 3, which I was like, why? Why did you do this? So it was like Fen and Margot like competing in a tournament, but before the final fight, the full moon reveals to Margot that Josh and Fen slept together. And I was like,
Oh,
that is such a betrayal. You don't sleep with your friend's partner. You don't.
yeah.
And
That's
like
just
Josh and Margot were like literally together, and they were like, they were getting there. Like they were a bit hesitant, and they got there. So yeah, I hated Josh and Fen like for a while, but I eventually like got over it. But like after that, I was like, nah, you don't do that to your friends. But yeah, so I guess that was my.
gotta admit, like there's this another character called Renyard. He was a trickster god in the first series, and he's the one that kind of sexually assaulted Julia, and I just hated that guy. I mean, I think everybody hated that guy. And the fact is, when and the Beast as well. God, he was quite scary. I mean, when I first saw him on screen, I just thought, why are you calling the Beast? Because he was just full of moth. I just thought,
Yeah.
call it the Mothman or something, because that pretty suited him up. But yeah, all the villains are kind of like my least favorite.
Yeah. So now, if you could be a character from the Magicians, who would you be, Grace?
That's the part I had tricky because every single character seemed to have been through a lot. Like Penny lost his hands, Julia was raped, and Alice have to do some like Alice turned into like a fiery creature. It was it's quite hard that one. I'm not.
Well, for me, it'd either have to be Alice or Julia. Like Alice is because she's like a genius. She's like skilled in literally everything. And I think, in my opinion, she's probably the most powerful of all of them.
Yeah,
But
maybe.
then I'd
Yeah.
say maybe Julia because she was a goddess, which is like pretty cool. Like who wouldn't want to be? But at the same time, she was
But
raped
Margot, because she
by an
became
evil
like
god.
high.
So
Yeah. But Margot,
I
because she
mean,
became like a high, what they call a king, but high queen in the kingdom, and respect that. So I think that's quite good. And she looks really good in the eye patch. So you never met someone with an eye patch.
yeah, that's true.
Uh,
Yeah. So in terms of like characters who we didn't get to see enough of because they died or they just weren't too relevant to the storyline,
I think
like
you
for
probably know
me,
my answer.
yeah, I feel like I've seen this quite a bit, and I totally agree. I'm not sure. I'm hoping that you're going to say the same, but I'm going to say Penny and Katie's Penny, not like Julia's Penny, because
Yeah.
we got to see the other Penny, not from the original timeline, but it's nothing like having Katie's Penny. Like he was like, I just preferred him, and
Mm.
I wish we had got to see more of him, which was quite a downfall. I mean, we did get to see him pop up like a few episodes here and there, but I really preferred him than Julia's
I
Penny.
agree.
So
I agree. I do actually agree. But the last season, with spoiler alert, Quentin died. Like he was never in the last show. I'm like, oh, okay, that was a big stab in the heart there because he was the main character. He was the introduction to our show. He was the audience eyes to the whole world. So I just didn't get why they would kill him. I mean, I know they say the actor wanted to leave the show, but if they were going to do one last season for the show, like if they were going to cancel it afterwards, why can't they just persuade him to stay for one season? I mean,
I can
it's
answer
just
that one.
it just feels like a shame. It just felt like a blank in the show. I mean, we mentioned this earlier, like because when I first reacted, you said like he was mentioned and was kind of respected throughout the last season, and I'm glad because they did do that. Like they reminded us of like his sacrifice, and that's really respectful. But I just think it feels weird without the main character for the last season of his like of the show that is mainly kind of based around him. If that makes sense.
I think we'll get on more onto that on the later questions, a bit
Okay.
more onto that. But yeah, I agree because I've got quite a bit to say about that as well. Because it's Grace's. Like I was a bit adamant. Like Grace was totally like after season 4, I
Yeah.
don't even know. Like
Before
season
that's
4, yeah. After season 4, Grace was quite adamant. She was like, "I'm not gonna watch the next season." I was like, "Oh." I was kind of the same as well, but I sort of was like, "Oh, I need to know." Like, and I didn't regret it. And I mean, we'll talk about the ending much later, but time to move on to our favorite moments or episodes from the whole of the show, which I have quite a bit. You know, like I don't know. Like for Winona, I had like 2 or something. For this, I think I have like 3 or 4 or something. So like, so I've already mentioned season 5, episode 3, like Fen and Josh, like we find out that they slept together and da 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 da. But it was also sort of a good episode as well because like throughout the show we've been seeing like a love triangle like between Quentin, Elliot, and Alice, with Quentin and Alice being together for most of the show, and then Quentin and Elliot actually living a life together in like another timeline. So we see that they have sort of like they're sort of like warring because they sort of want his affection. They want him to pick them. But in this one, they sort of like come together to go to the mountain of Ghost and Fillory to drop the last of Quentin's soul into a well that leads to the underworld, which will allow him to be at peace and they can actually say goodbye to him. And that was quite a nice episode to see that they actually did that both together. Like that was just really nice, you know, really heartwarming. I don't know, like even on the way on the journey, they were sort of like at ends with each other, but you know, it was nice. Now another one was season 3, episode 9, like the Queen and David Bowie episode, like the one where like Juliet, well, basically everybody, Julia, Elliot, Margot, Penny, Katie, Alice, Quentin, and Josh, like they all sing Under Pressure together, and I was, I just loved it. That's the singing is just really good with this show, like the songs, the covers and everything. It's so good. And what I loved about the song as well, it was sort of like they were all like scattered around in different places. They were like on different missions and stuff, but they all came together just to help. And this, like, I've already spoken about the singing, and I'm going to talk about the singing later on as well, because that is one of the reasons why I really like the show, is the incorporation of music. But yeah, and now I don't know, it's a weird one to say. It's like my I don't know. I'd say it was. I don't know how to describe it. It was a good moment. I'm not sure if I'd say it was favorite. but it was like Quentin's death. So season 4, episode 13. Like, even though it's really tragic and stuff, I loved how they all sat around that fire and they like all looked back and remembered Quentin while singing "Take on Me," which was also really well sung, really nice. But yeah, I just loved how they sort of like share like some sort of valuable memory, and they sort of, it was really touching. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are mine. What about
Yeah,
yours, Grace?
Yeah, that moment wouldn't be my favorite, but it would be my most memorable moment.
Yeah.
One tiny favorite was like when everyone lost their magic in the university until Julia started sparkles and like of her own magic, and I thought, oh, this is great because she's finally getting like finally getting her own kind of like scene in a way, and that's kind of the sort of her becoming a goddess. And I forgot what episode that was in, but I think that was the last episode of season 2, I think.
I know. We can look back and
This main one, I'm not sure it's just, I think it's just me or there's possibly other people out there, but there's in season 3, episode 5, where like we see kind of like with Elliot and Quentin together, they grew up, they I completely forgot. I had to try to rewatch some episodes just to remember what. But I think it's just me, but I kind of ship their relationship. Like if it came more, I mean, I like the Quentin and Alice, but I felt this was actually more likable because over the show we've seen like Quentin and Alice kind of like been on and off, and I didn't feel kind of a chemistry. But for this, I felt like, ooh, are we getting kind of like more like a gay relationship? Because I think I'll dig for that because I don't think because we all know Elliot was gay, but I think I kind of get I kind of like the Elliot and Quentin, and when we saw that live or like them grow together and they raise a child, that entire episode, it was so heartwarming, just like seeing like a perfect life for them, but it was also heartbreaking because it never happened. And I felt that was such a shame because I would want that to see that a bit more, like their relationship, because it was something like, I mean, it was something like a friendly relationship, but it was like something more, if that makes sense. And it's just sparks the depth of their relationship between them. And I'm just annoyed they didn't like develop that more into the show. I mean, I think Quentin and Alice would best be friends, but I mean, if anybody ships for Quentin and Elliot, please comment down below because I think they should have done that more in the show. So yeah, that was my
I agree.
favorite.
Yeah. And then I guess like what did I like about the show? I mean, I've already sort of mentioned it, but the incorporation of the music, like that sort of like it wasn't his some TV shows like Lucifer, for example, like they had like a musical episode, but then they also had the incorporation of music, like but this one it's just nice. Like I don't know, it sort of like
Yeah,
told the story. I don't know how to put it. And then the singing as well was just really good.
yeah,
Like
it's
Katie and Elliot, it was so good. Like they need to create an album. They need to
oh
have
yeah.
like the Magicians album, and I would literally be really up for that. Like, yeah. And then the different characters as well that were explored, and then like Grace mentioned before, like Quentin, like he died, but they didn't sort of like just push that aside. They sort of still brought it up. So yeah, that was good. Like similar to Winona Earp, where they kept like Doll's memory intact, like unique, different, and then yeah, I mean, I've sort of mentioned everything, like what I liked about the show. But yeah,
Yeah.
over to you, Grace, I guess.
I like the story, like magic mixing in with the modern world, and it's really good. It's kind of like Percy Jackson meeting Narnia, like to modern world meeting another magical world that we haven't heard or explored. So it was quite fascinating. And again, like the designs, I like the different kind of creatures in it, like the gods or the white lady or all of that, or like there was a dragon in the water. It was really kind of catchy because I know some like shows that have like not very good CGI or like makeup or all that, but this was really like hit the top of like its technique, and it just really gets to you. And as much as the characters and the story blending in, yeah, it's great. That's what I like about the show.
Then I guess, what did you not like about the show, which was the opposite of the previous question? I mean, Grace has already mentioned it, Quentin's death. I mean, I think that was the big moment for everybody as well. Like Grace said, like, I wish he hadn't died, and like Grace said, like, he was the main character. Like, don't get me wrong, all of the other characters are also main, but he was like the main. Sort of
Yeah,
like, and I get that the actor wanted to like leave to pursue other stuff, and yeah, it's a big loss, for like a TV show to lose its main character. But I'm glad they sort of like carried the rest of the show properly. And yeah, I mean, just talking about like what you were saying, actually, no, I'll talk about that later. I'll talk about it in the next part. But yeah, how about you? I guess you're gonna say.
same. And there's another thing, but I'll get that to another question we might ask later.
Okay, is that about the ending?
Yeah.
Okay. Which is surprisingly the next question. Yeah, so a recap for people who it's been ages for, because I mean this did come out in 2020, so it's been a while.
Yes,
So the ending was that Elliot, Penny, and Julia were left at Brakebills, and Margot, Alice, Fen, and Josh took the people of Fillory into a new world. So a bit of background. So the show was cancelled just before the final episodes came out. So they didn't actually know in advance. They only found out like just before the final few episodes came out. So it made it the final episode of the season, which I thought was good. It would have been a good cliffhanger. But I guess the main question is, was it a good end to the show? Which at that point they weren't really thinking about, I guess. They probably had ideas that it could have ended, but they weren't really gearing up for that because no one really wants to think that their show is going to end. Like they spend so much time and effort and whatnot. Like, I mean, I haven't worked in the industry or anything, but I can just imagine like it's their baby, They've like carried it, they've nurtured it, they've grown it up, and then for it to like get like, nope, it's cancelled. But yeah, I actually liked the ending. Like I thought it was an open ending, so the story could be picked up. Like if another, I don't know, if Netflix wanted to pick it up, for example, then it could. But yeah, I think it was a good ending, and it's sort of like I don't think I think the story needed some sort of conclusion after Quentin's death, and I mean it still hasn't been concluded properly, but I think it's at a good point. And I think if they were to do another season, I'd really want Quentin to be back. So I'm sort of glad they left it at that. So I'm sort of happy with the ending. I mean, it could have been better, but I'd settle for it. I'm happy with it. I think it was decent. Now go on, Grace.
Oh God, where to start? Okay, I feel like the ending didn't suit it well for any of the characters. So, for example, I think for Alice, she didn't like she wasn't that attached to like Fillory. Is that how you say it? Fillory? Or
Mhm.
Fillory? Yeah, I feel like I'm pronouncing it wrong. But I just feel like the characters over the show, they have grown, they've developed, and I feel like their arc, like the arc of their characters, just dropped in the end. I just feel like I feel like Elliot should have been in Valerie, then back in Baxter, back in the university, because I feel like that's where he sort of belonged in a way. So I feel like it was a kind of like a nice ending, but I feel like the characters should have been swapped positions, if that makes sense. Like Alice should have stayed at the university, maybe teach more students, and Elliot would have ruled like Valerie with Margot again. It's just a bit twisted in a way, not like dark twisted, but just like a bit mixed up in a way. Well, it's sad to see the show ends. I do kind of feel satisfied because I feel like it wasn't like gonna go anywhere else without Quentin, if that makes sense. So it was a good ending, like I said. I just feel like the characters were in the wrong place. Some of them should have been switched, like, or like maybe had like better endings in a way, because like Penny and Julia had a good ending. Like they were together, they have a daughter. Oh, cute baby, by the way. But I think, yeah, I'm just gonna leave it as good. I mean, characters need to switch places, but still good ending.
Right, I guess we're moving on to sort of finishing our reaction. So, any similar shows or anything that is sort of similar and you think people should watch? So for me, I've got quite a few. So I was thinking The
How with
Order.
you then?
I was thinking The Order, maybe.
Oh,
I mean, even though season 2 was sort of great, but not so great. But at the same time, it got cancelled. So I don't know. Do you want to watch it? Do you not? I don't know. Lost Girl, which I would really recommend. The Librarians, which actually was what started me off watching The Magicians, Grimm. So all of these shows, I picked them because they've sort of got like a magical, like supernatural element to them. So yeah, so it's sort of similar, but like we said, we've mentioned the word unique quite a bit. This show is really unique, so you're never gonna find something that's exactly like that. So yeah,
yeah.
what about you, Grace?
I totally agree. Like anything supernatural is very similar to the Magicians. Like I think for you, like Lost Girl, Librarians, I say Lucifer or Wyona. And well, Wyona is its own because it's Western, but it's still got that supernatural taste. And what else? Grimm. Yeah, because I just anything that's kind of with supernatural blending in with the modern world. I think those are the kind of shows that are very similar to.
Okay, and then my final favorite question to ask: what are 3 words you'd use to describe the show? Go on, Grace, give me your 3 words.
Magical, um, friendship, and a very creative. I don't know what else to say. I just lost.
I mean, it's true. It is creative. It's very different. Yeah. For me, I'd say magical as well. I mean, it's the Magicians. Like, why aren't you gonna say magical? Like, it's like
It's in the name.
yeah, exactly. Lyrical, the music, and FILLORY. I think FILLORY just describes the whole thing because that is literally the main thing. But yeah,
So guys, hope you enjoyed that. If you want to see more of our videos, check on our channel. We've got Lucifer, we've got Wyona, and we also got the Marvel reaction shows by me and Emily. Please make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And please leave a comment down below where you can tell us what your thoughts on the Magicians and if there's anything else you want us to watch. Until next time, bye.
bye.